So earlier this week, the New York Times ran an interview with whinging Lord Fauci under the headline, "Something clearly went wrong," which, believe it or not, is a direct quote from Fauci about the handling of the pandemic. Except, according to Saint Tony of the NIH, everything that went wrong was someone else's fault. So let's do a little Fauci fact check, shall we? First, he blamed political divisiveness for people ignoring fundamental public health principles. So it's your fault, peasants. But then almost immediately afterwards, he noted that nearly every country did poorly, even those with no political divisiveness. So the great man of science, the man who is science, is all over the place right from the start. Then he tries to wriggle out of responsibility for shutting down the economy and closing schools because it wasn't his decision. But nearly all the people who did make the decisions hung on his every word, which, of course, he relentlessly encouraged. Look at the self-regarding relish with which he became the face of the pandemic. And listen to what he actually said.
Any state that is having a serious problem, that state should seriously look at shutting down.
So clearly, in certain circumstances, particularly in areas where there's community spread, the schools should be closed.
And if you physically separate people to the point of not allowing the virus to transmit, and the only way to do that is by draconian means of essentially shutting down a country. We know that we can do that if we shut down. We did not shut down entirely, and that's the reason why when we went up, we started to come down, and then we plateaued.
And now, in one of the most chilling remarks of the entire interview, Fauci describes arguments about getting vaccinated or not as extraordinary. What? They forced children to get vaccinated, which for most was totally unnecessary, as Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, amongst others, has argued here many times. Dr. Jay also, quite rightly, argued against vaccine mandates because the vaccines don't prevent infection or transmission. Yet Fauci calls that argument extraordinary, a remark which reveals his frighteningly totalitarian mindset. His attempt, enforced by the media and, we now know, government-directed big tech censorship, to crush dissent and manufacture fake consensus is one of the most appalling aspects of the entire Fauci fiasco. Moving on. In this interview, Fauci makes another flip-flop on masks. He started off the pandemic saying they didn't work, so don't wear them. Then it was all masks all the time. Now he says they're 10% effective, but really do work well if you wear a well-fitted N95 religiously, which is basically impossible for most people. In any case, studies are now showing that religious masking, even in clinical settings like hospitals, did little to stop the spread of COVID, and actually may have raised the risk of stillbirths, testicular dysfunction, and, wait for it, cognitive decline. Well, I guess it all makes sense now, doesn't it? Fauci was asked if it was a mistake to prioritize young and relatively healthy healthcare workers over the elderly. Come on, he says, mistake is such a charged word. Yeah, it is. That's the point. You accept mistakes and learn from them. But Fauci won't. He still says his approach was a sound principle. Of course it wasn't. From the beginning, back in March 2020, when nearly everyone else was running around screaming for lockdowns, we said, protect the vulnerable. And we were right. Fauci was wrong. As all the data shows, the elderly were magnitudes more likely to die from the virus than those who were younger. Here's an absolutely outrageous whopper from Fauci on the vaccines. Fauci says we should have communicated better that vaccines don't prevent infection or transmission because, quote, the trials were only powered to look at the effect on symptomatic disease. Exactly. He knew from the start that the vaccines didn't stop transmission. So why on earth did he say stuff like this?
When you get vaccinated, you not only protect your own health, that of the family, but also you contribute to the community health by preventing the spread of the virus throughout the community. In other words, you become a dead end to the virus.
That is not poor communication, Dr. Fauci. That's called lying. On the origins of the pandemic, he says, we really should have been much, much more attentive to protocols and training and restrictions. Oh, really? So why is it that after the HHS Inspector General's report found multiple oversight failures by Fauci-funded EcoHealth Alliance, failures that prevented new biosafety measures from being enacted, measures that could have stopped the pandemic, Fauci's agency gave them yet another grant to continue their reckless virus research? After completely misrepresenting the findings of the intelligence agencies, and the FBI on whether the virus was engineered, laughably musing that a lab worker might have picked up the pandemic virus in the field, a virus that was many magnitudes more infectious than anything previously seen in nature, Fauci ludicrously claims that his virus experiments could not have possibly turned into COVID because, quote, the viruses they studied were evolutionarily so far from SARS-CoV-2. But that contradicts the already threadbare defense published by his own agency. Remember this chart we showed you the other week? The NIAID's own document shows that the Wuhan lab was working on the bat virus that's the perfect match for the pandemic virus. They just claim they didn't pay for it. On top of that, Fauci preposterously states that anybody who knows anything about virology would agree. Tell that to Dr. Richard Ebright from Rutgers, one of the world's leading virologists, who has systematically debunked all of Fauci's claims. And then finally, Fauci goes back to his original justification anyway, saying this research was important to help prepare for future outbreaks, which is exactly what he said 12 years ago, that generating a potentially dangerous virus in the laboratory is a risk worth taking. Well, he took the risk, and we paid the price. And now, instead of even the tiniest hint of responsibility or accountability, we get this interview, a brazen farrago of lies, evasions, and distortions. Stay with us, much more up ahead.